Maybe reborn like a phoenix. Moving into the news, into the gaming news to sort of discuss. Might be Xbox customers. I've gone and listened to this special business episode of the official Xbox podcast. A little bit of backstory. There were some reports that Xbox, if you go to one extreme end, was basically shutting shop and they were never going to make a game again. They were going to, somewhere in between, never make any consoles ever again. Somewhere else, they're going to put all of their game library on every single console that they possibly can. And the the reaction has been insane. People, chucking their Xboxes off of buildings, people crying into them, people crying at Microsoft like, I've spent £300 on this box and you'll never make a game for it again, and all of this fucking stupid shit.
What a good time to not look at the internet.
Announcement of anything.
So say that again.
How gamers are reactionary.
At least they used to wait, right?
No,
and they just overinterpret things like. Or they'd be like, oh no, like Horizon is coming to PC. This thing's useless. I'm gonna microwave everything I've ever owned.
Yeah, you remember that breakdown when PlayStation said they were bringing their games to PC, and then it just happened, and the world kept on turning on its axis. Yeah,
and luckily, I think from what Phil Spencer and co have kind of said on this podcast, it didn't. Yeah. Things are going to keep going. Pretty much business as usual for Xbox. The only thing that they really announced, which is slightly different, is that 4 titles are going to be coming to PlayStation and Switch. I don't know if all 4 are coming to both platforms. They didn't give specific details. They didn't say which titles they were either.
There's been some that have been rumoured, isn't it? Like Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes, there's been several that have been rumoured, and it they gave a podcast like 25 minutes or something like that. And the first 15 is a very long-winded way of basically saying these games aren't selling on Xbox anymore. We thought we'd put them on other platforms to give them a second bit of life and bring more players.
It makes so much sense. Like, especially the dev circle time and how long it takes to make a game and the resources put in it. Why wouldn't you give that game the best chance it can, or a second wind at life, Yeah. Like that's exactly what PlayStation are doing, putting their games on PC. There's so much money going into games, and everybody's risk averse just from this late stage capitalism we're in. So, and maximizing shareholder value, like Embracer said. But so it's like, let these games sell as much as they can. None of that windfall is going to go back to the developers, unfortunately. But it's like, if it keeps the dev studio staying open, all the better. Like put it on the Saturn, put it on the Playdate.
One of the interesting points, I think, again, they didn't say what those games were, but Phil kind of gave a bit of a rundown and basically said these games are all a year old, or more. 2 games are live service games, so one of them's going to be Sea of Thieves. Maybe. Is it Grounded, cool. Maybe? Is that the other one?
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of their other live service games. And he said the other 2 are smaller, more indie-style titles. So, Hi-Fi Rush, maybe...
Pentiment?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That was the one that I thought would be potentially the other one. And that would be great, because as we sort of have said previously, when stuff like Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment were made, it's great that the studios that Xbox has are able to make these smaller experiences. Not smaller, in terms of games, smaller in terms of the games that they currently produce. But that they've been able to, the developers have been able to go, we really want to make this. And Xbox have gone, okay, sure, let's set you up, and here's a budget and all of these kinds of things. For those then, I would assume Xbox have done some research into kind of how much they've been selling month on month over the last, say, couple of months or something, and then gone back into the historic data, to be able to sort of say, we know that games like this sell really well on other platforms, So we will make, if we don't put it on one of the other consoles, we make nothing. If we do, and X amount of people buy it, even with the cut that the other console manufacturers take on their stores, we are still making money. And I say that, but there's going to be, you know, porting costs and all of those kinds of things, but it's a much smaller cost to do that than it is to make another game and try and put it on everything.
Yeah, because I was just going to say we were talking about Sunset Overdrive the other week and how few copies that sold, and that's probably what kind of numbers that these games are doing now. So yeah, just continue to mitigate the risk and, you know, make smaller titles with smaller budgets, sure, but like sell them everywhere you can. So
it's the wild thing where, I'm sorry, aren't you supposed to be fucking capitalists? Like, there's a market.
Yeah.
Supply it.
Yeah.
There's demand. Like, isn't it that simple? But also, like, at this point, so their exclusives are were a bit like technologically bound, so that yes, there was like this like scarcity via platform, right? If you wanted these games, you'd have to be on this platform, and you couldn't get them otherwise. And those were originally technological because you just had very different designs, and this was especially true in the PS3, Xbox 360 era, because they just had very different like hardware to build on. These are all fucking PCs, right? These are these are the same thing under the hood, so it's literally artificial scarcity. Which is a bad thing. So like, it's funny because like as consumers, we should be like, oh great, it's in more things. I have more ways of doing the thing, and overall, if more people did this is a good thing. So like, also as like anti-capitalists, also a good thing. But if you were an actual capitalist, you'd be like, right, there's money on the table, they should fucking sell it in the places they can because the leverage is low. It's like it's just fanboys being irrational, right? Like either they want they just want scarcity for scarcity's sake because they made a choice. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, and it's so bizarre because, as you said, Adil, these things are the same thing. Like I don't think like either Microsoft or Sony, or, well, I should say PlayStation or Xbox, neither have an identity anymore. You know what I mean? That was maybe in the 2000s and stuff like that, but like
Final Fantasy VII Remake, that's an identity.
Not an identity anyone would want to have, but you know, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, in the early 2000s and going on, that Xbox was the console if you were shooter bro college kid or whatever, and Sony was like a bit more artsy and thoughtful with its output. But yeah, it's like they're the same box, and there's nothing delineating these things anymore. Like that kind of identity that they used to have, they're not anymore because of that like kind of risk aversion. Like Sony put out the same game, you know, for different palette, you know, every year, just like a story-based, you know, AAA single-player game. And Xbox, I mean, I don't even know what they're doing, but they don't put out any games, and that's their identity. So it's like,
well, they're a platform.
Yeah, it's like just become publishers.
Well,
publish your games everywhere.
Well, publish games that, like, you think will publish games you think will sell, and don't worry if they match your fucking brand identity, right? Like,
yeah, because I don't have one.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that again they mentioned that Xbox, or I suppose Microsoft at least, now they have Bethesda and they have Activision Blizzard, are now one of the biggest publishers on every single platform that exists, basically. If not maybe the biggest in terms of kind of their game catalogs. And
they have so many studios. How would you still have an identity after that? How is Double Fine like, I don't know, Machine Games? They're two completely different, you know, studios making different things. It's like having a portfolio that big. You don't have an identity.
I think it does. It definitely saturates the brand, absolutely. When they start to bring, Activision is a brand in and of itself.
Yeah, and they've been swimming around trying to search for what their brand is after the TV thing imploded for a while, and it's like they haven't really settled on anything. So, does it matter? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? White people buy Xbox, people buy PlayStation. It's usually the one that's cheaper and more available that people will go to.
Yeah. Unless there is something very, very specific that you're like,
like a Switch that's handheld and kid friendly or something like that.
Yeah. Then you just go, oh damn, I could have bought a Steam Deck 2 years later,
and still probably did. To be fair, yes.
Yeah.
Another interesting part to take from this, and I think maybe the one which will still have people a little bit itchy about it, is I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was basically every screen is an Xbox, or every player is an Xbox player. Basically, it's kind of like you've played one of the games that we've published. You're an Xbox player, essentially, and trying to bring everyone, not necessarily in the umbrella, but there's a lot of the language that he used is trying to sound inclusive, but very much kind of like, oh no, you're ours now. You're with us. Doesn't matter where you are or what you're playing on. You're an Xbox player.
I mean, everyone who's played Minecraft is an Xbox player, really. So, everyone who's even looked at or touched or sniffed Minecraft.
You've been near a PC. You're owned by Microsoft. Forever.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Everyone who has in the past but no longer does play box. Cats. Xbox players.
If you've ever played Solitaire, even in card form.
Oh, that's it. That little spaceship pinball game as well. You're an X. You're a Microsoft.
And also fucking Windows 3.1 Jizzball. That's a classic Xbox game.
Minesweeper, done, perfect. And I suppose the final part, and I think more of the point that people will kind of attach themselves to, is he said basically, we very directly are saying that the games that are coming to the other consoles are not Starfield or the new Indiana Jones game that is yet to release, but. That doesn't mean that. Yes, he said that doesn't mean that isn't a possibility. And again, 10 years time, every Xbox game is on another platform. Essentially, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen day and date on all the platforms. Doesn't mean it's going to happen even within a year for all of their games. I think they'll do the clever market thing and see how well this works, and then decide, okay, next year these two games are going to be coming to the other platforms.
Seems like they're keeping their cards close to their chest, because things may change. Like the next Xbox might sell a gazillion copies, and saying like, because we only have Starfield 2 on our new Xbox and it's the best game ever or something. But I think it's pretty much the approach Sony's taken. I mean, they put MLB The Show on Xbox, didn't they? And
on Game Pass as well.
Yeah, and they're being a bit more reserved. I think they're opening up a bit more now about their cadence of putting games on PC. But that was at the beginning, it'll be select games and it'll be several years after. But now it's like, it's going to be day and date. And
I will say part of it is just like, I think the calculation that's very straightforward, which is right. So we have a brand identity. It's really weak, but there are some people who are diehards. What are the games they care about?
Yeah, but who are those people though? Like, how big is that audience where it's the diehard people who would literally throw their Xbox off a mountain because?
I'm actually talking about the Bens, right?
Who?
Ben.
Hello.
Bought a PS5 because there's an exclusive game, and amongst others, wanted a console, and this exclusive game, when the console went on sale, was enough to make him pick.
Right, gotcha.
Right, and so like MLB The Show was never gonna be the exclusive that would tip someone generically in this landscape.
Generically, yeah, there are some.
Right, that's what I mean, right? So like the things like Final. That's why I made the joke about Final Fantasy VII remakes earlier, because those are actually there's like there's still an association of that type of game being a Sony exclusive. Keeping those games Sony exclusive, stretched to PC, then maybe something else afterwards, makes sense, because that can still like change a few minds or make it. Or it's not even change minds. It's just like make you decide which of the slightly different skinned boxes, right, you're gonna buy. But like keeping MLB The Show on Sony isn't enough to get people to definitely buy that. So it makes more sense to put it on both machines, and then more people will buy it. That's sort of
Yeah. That makes sense.
the remnants of the previous brand what it was can still tug some people over. So it's worth like holding on to those types of exclusives.
The tentpole games are the ones
Yeah,
that
but like,
exclusive,
but they're fewer. They're fewer and further between, and they should be.
Yeah. But thank you for filling us in, Ben, because I was not going to listen to that podcast anytime soon. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird not having Major Nelson on the Xbox podcast.
Is he still there?
No, he left. I can't remember where he went to, but yeah, I think he left. Was it last year after like 20 years at Xbox?
Oh yes, he did.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of last year. Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, oh god, yeah, he's not there anymore. So that was weird. When I saw a screenshot.
It's one of the things that is kind of it does bring up is obviously these game companies want to expand their portfolios and bring it to other sort of platforms and things like that. I think we've seen I'm pretty sure Helldivers 2 is a Sony owned like property. And so
Don't they own? Is it Housemarque who made it or something?
No, Aspire, I think. But it's not an in-house studio who have made Helldivers 2. But supposedly it's gone over onto Steam and has sold like 1 million units within like the first few days. So it's just exploded over on Steam. So because it's maybe not a first-party console game or part of a franchise which is considered to be that, PlayStation may be a little bit freer to explore where to put those kinds of things. And obviously PC, fucking the biggest install base of any platform that exists. And again, we saw it with Game Pass, having PC Game Pass as a separate product, but also baked in to kind of the Xbox Game Pass, that will allow you to kind of take your Xbox games and play them on PC as well. So everyone's going to be doing this and dipping in. The only one's going to be Nintendo, who they'll take the games. Absolutely. They're like, cool, you want to put Pentiment on a Switch? Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's bring it over.
Yeah.
Or you're not having none of our games. No, absolutely not. Fuck right off. Because they just
we'll lend you a bit of GoldenEye.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. But isn't it because GoldenEye's like who owns the?
It's owned by like 7 different people. It's owned by like Nintendo, Microsoft, MGM or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's
God, some games must be so difficult to actually kind of license out to.
Pierce Brosnan probably owns a bit of it, So
it's like you have to you have to make a big head Pierce Brosnan because you can't use my identity. It's not my likeness. You can't do that. Just make his head massive then. We can do that easy. Good. So yes, Xbox hasn't exploded. The company still exists. Give it a bit more time, I suppose.
It's good to have a competition around, But yeah, it's just par for the course. It's just I think it's because it was late, why it was very much blown out of proportion. Because if someone said, "Oh yeah, Hi-Fi Rush," if they started with like Hi-Fi Rush out on PlayStation, like Shadow dropped it like they did last year on Xbox, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye. They'd be like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Yeah. I think they were probably, pushed into a corner with this and got out the news in whatever best way they could. I'm sure they've got a few more subscribers to their podcast, so probably all in all a net gain.
They did. I remember the last piece of news to pull out from this. I think they said they currently have about 34 million Game Pass subscribers,
decent amount,
which is a decent amount. It's something they stopped reporting on the numbers. I think sometime last year, maybe the year before, maybe in 2022, they'd hit about 33 million, and basically were like, we've grown 20% in the last year, brilliant, great, and then just stopped telling anyone how many they'd got. So in about a year, maybe 18 months,
eventually,
it has plateaued. And again, that might be why they've decided to start bringing stuff to other platforms as well. As we were saying, these games aren't necessarily getting people to go and pick up Game Pass. Xbox has had a bit of a lull in terms of the actual output that its studios have kind of been putting out, especially on bigger titles. So they kind of expected, I would think, that Game Pass would plateau a little bit, that hardware sales wouldn't be pushed quite as much if you can kind of get everything on PC and those kinds of things as well. So overall as a business, it makes sense to start to explore this a bit more.
I don't think Microsoft would hesitate just to turn the tap off on like some of these studios if they're not making any money at all.
I mean, mate, they cut something ridiculous.
Lionhead?
No, the amount of people they cut from Activision Blizzard.
Like
10% of the workforce or something like that, wasn't it? 1,900 people.
1,900.
Yeah.
They'll do that. They'll just chop a studio up if it's just like.
So that was the AB layoffs, but a year ago, total Microsoft layoffs were 10,000.
Jesus.
Across the entire company.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. They're one of the highest valued companies in the world now, right, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. They're something like a multi-trillion-dollar company, aren't they? Or a triple-figure trillion, I think, something like that.
If the 10 extra sales manage to balance the books and make games break even, so that these developers stay open, then that's cool. Maybe that's all they're looking for. Oh, it's rough out there, man. It's rough.
It is, especially with then Embracer coming out and basically saying everything we do is for our shareholders.
Exactly.
Fuck everyone that works for us, basically. We'll sell you all out just to.
The fact that they can say the quiet part loud is
with their chest, their whole chest. Yeah, it's. That's the business they're dealing with. I say they, I mean like the 4 developers, not Microsoft. Like they have the ability to keep these companies funding for the sake of art for literally all the rest of time because they have that much money. But that's not how it works. Sadly, yeah.
You sick?
Yeah, my capitalist leanings are just. They faltered a bit. Yeah, why would they do that? For the sake of art? Ugh. What is art? I can make art. I can throw paint at the wall, and that's for free.
It's like, why would they possibly do this in a way that would guarantee medium long-term growth via innovation? No. If it's not making money in the next 3 months, it's not really making money. But also, what we're trying to do is make sure we make money permanently and growth and infinitely, but we're only going to make decisions in the short run.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's a capitalist ethos that is theoretically possible, but they're avoiding like the plague. They have an inbuilt contradiction.
Yeah. And, strange times.
Absolutely. And again, the messaging with a lot of this is... for 10 years or so, we've been saying, we want everyone to be able to play our games, play everywhere, do all the things, hooray! And it's just we need to make more money, realistically.
Yeah. Games are just a vector of zeros and ones near appropriate database points.
In good orders, yes. Slightly bigger news, something that we've mentioned several times over the last few weeks. The UK's in a recession. So we'll see how that fucking goes, with studios.
We knew it. They just have to wait for, 2 successive 3-month periods. They have to wait to officially announce it. But I think anyone with their eyes open knew. Well, you never know, Ben. Rishi Sunak could have retired and there could have been a big old party in the UK and invited all our friends over and the economy would have grown.
Yeah.
So over 2 days.
See, that's it. That's all they need to really do is just have an election. and the resulting amount
I was
of
thinking more of
booze that will be sold will just
like
buoy the country up.
I was thinking more like, public execution, like guillotines out, Louis XIV style. That would bring attention. That would be like the Super Bowl.
Definitely attention.
Yeah. And that would have boosted our economy.
Is the Super Bowl like the bowl that the heads get cut into?
Yes.
Gets paraded around at the end. Hooray!
www.outoflives.net